Hello Scrolls fans, welcome to Scrollscast. Here we are with another Waypoints match. We have JoyfulRogue on the left. He is playing what looks to be a Gravelock build, has a lot of removal in his initial hand, goes ahead and pitches it for a new hand and has a little bit better start. Ooh, Power Trip, that's an interesting choice in this deck. Of course, Gravelocks are great at taking advantage of that extra energy if they have the Snargle Omelette in play. So Joyful goes ahead and sacrifices. We'll have a guard out on turn 2. Buecherwurm appears to be playing an Enchantment growth build built around Vilda the Verdant. I'm excited to see Vilda in action. I actually have not seen her played all that often. Note that Ward still allows you to target your own units with enchantments, so if you play enchantments on Vilda, she gets a particularly large amount of advantage on them. So Buecherwurm has an okay start. He has lots of enchantments, 2 powerful 3-drops. I'm not sure if this is a keeper or if this is something that he should pitch back. He goes ahead and keeps it, sacrifices for scrolls, and passes the turn back to Joyful, who draws a Potion of Resistance. We'll see Gravelock Guard come out on this turn, right smack dab in the middle, almost certainly. And then looking forward to the next few turns, he could Power Trip into a Long Nose plus another unit play maybe next turn, but we'll see if he draws something to combo with that. Buecher has a second Ragged Wolf. Can't quite afford to do Ragged Wolf Stagheart or anything like that, so he'll likely just sacrifice for resources and pass the turn. Tough decision though on what precisely to sacrifice. Probably will keep Vilda and Earthborn. Well, see, here I am wrong. He goes ahead and sacrifices the Earthborn and gets out double Ragged Wolf, so he plays him down now, gets the guard down to just 1 health. And JoyfulRogue has a 3-drop, so if he does Power Trip, he would have a total of 6 resources, not quite enough to do a combo, so he goes ahead and gets rid of it, and he'll just be content to play out a Gravelock Outcast to defend his now weakened guard. Over to Buecher, he has Blood Boil. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So we could see that played on, I wonder what that's here to combo with. It combos well with the Earthborn Mystic, at least for a few turns. But actually he goes ahead and sacrifices it, so we'll see Vilda come down now, and then potentially some Stagheart action in the turns to come. Vilda played out at the bottom, and passes the turn over to Joyful, who has Machination Mindset. Let's see, so he could get up to 3 attack with the Gravelock Guard. He could do a double enchantment and take out both wolves. That doesn't quite feel worth it. I imagine that we'll see him just play out the Uhu Longnose. Note the important movement of the Gravelock Outcast down to the 4th row, so that threatens the Vilda, who will have to be defended or be enchanted in order to survive. And the Gravelock Guard, of course, with that movement, will have to decide if he wants to move to safety and deal damage to an idol and then 1 random damage up here, or if he just wants to take out one of these wolves. I suppose Joyful could drop a Gravelock Raider in front, and that's what he does, so at least the guard will not die. Still has 2 resources to work with, and just takes out a Ragged Wolf. So over to Buecherwurm, who has Verdant Veil. Not a bad card at all, especially with the Vilda out. So the Verdant with the Verdant Veil, and that appears to be the same creature in the art. That's interesting, so I really want that to be enchanted just for the art match. But anyway, sacrificing it for resources up to double Stagheart resources. See 1 go on Vilda, 1 go on the Ragged Wolf. Good math. 3 damage coming in on that Outcast. We'll take it out, and I want to see Vilda move up to be behind the Ragged Wolf, but instead keeps it down at the bottom where it's potentially a little safer, but less able to get any damage in on the middle units. So Joyful still hasn't found any more units. Unfortunate couple of turns for him. He has lots of utility, a decent amount of removal, has to decide if he wants to sacrifice for scrolls and just hope to draw a cheap creature, or I guess he could do an Iron Whip Machinated combo if he really wanted to, but that doesn't feel worth it right now. Violent Dispersal is nice, but won't be able to afford that until round 8 or round 7 at the earliest, and goes ahead and pitches it for scrolls. Has an Ironclad Reaver in hand, so that gives him something to work towards, but that's still 2 turns away. Could Fury, but that won't do much, and so we'll unfortunately just have to pass the turn and lose his Gravelock Raider in all likelihood. Not a great turn for Joyful. The deck did not cooperate with him. Bucher pitches his Vader for scrolls and finds Gravehawk and Earthen Mirth. I really like Gravehawk in these enchantment decks. The cheap creature with Relentless, especially if it's a large attack enchantment, can do some serious surprise damage in the same way that Gravelock Raider can deal surprise damage with the Machinated. So let's see what Bucher decides to do with these units. Vilda goes up behind the Ragged Wolf, ready to come in and take out the Gravelock Raider. And then Gravehawk will probably come down. He could play it in front where it is tanking for the Ragged Wolf. Or probably what I would do is go ahead and play it up in the second row middle so that it's just sort of a little bit safer. But values the defense over the offense and plays it out in front of the Ragged Wolf. Joyful now has a Stormrunner, so I bet he'll sacrifice up for a 4th resource to plan on Ironclad Reaver next turn. Nothing really great going for him this turn other than that Stormrunner, of course, is nice, but... And actually, excellent play by him with the Machination Mindset and the Machinated. That's up to 8 Relentless damage, so that's going to come through and take out 2 of these units and deal 1 damage to the Vilda. So JoyfulRogue going a little bit all in with this Gravelock Guard, risking a Ragged Wolf taking it out completely, and gets quite a bit of damage in and neutralizes a large part of Bucher's board. Bucher cannot punish him immediately, but does have a Kinfolk Brave to play down, so it's going to be tough for Joyful to have his units survive next turn with 2 1 countdown units going. 1 permanent, 1 countdown, and 1 with 2 countdown, but on 1 right now. Leeching Ring and Blood Boil are in effect, but, well, I guess played on the Vilda, that makes her really hard to kill. Whenever she deals damage, will be healed by 2. And here comes the Kinfolk Brave played out and moved actually to the middle. So that will allow the Gravelock Guard to escape to the bottom row if Joyful chooses to. And I bet that's exactly what he'll be doing. Very excited to see that opening open up for sure. Second Stormrunner for him. I would maybe go ahead and sacrifice one of them and play out that Ironclad Reaver. Alternatively, we could see a Stormrunner come down now with plans to maybe Iron Whip and movement for some surprise 3 damage. Might be enough, not quite enough to kill off the Vilda after the heal, who has, I believe, 4 base health right now. Let's see. Still deciding what to do. Stormrunner wouldn't be a bad play, but I think I would rather have that Ironclad Reaver out and then plan to move it up with the guard in close pursuit and get another relentless attack off. Blood Boil and another Stagheart for Bucher. Pitches the Blood Boil, interestingly, has Machination Mindset in his deck. I wonder what his plans are to get that out, if he just wants to sacrifice for 2 energy, but either way, another Stone Stagheart on the Vilda, so that's going to start taking out idols really, really fast. Heals off the Leeching Ring as well. That is an uber creature. Really going to be tough to kill for JoyfulRogue, and with Ward as well, going to be even more difficult. Can't use Violent Dispersal on it, needs to kill it with combat damage. A Stormrunner Machinated might be the way to do it, so maybe hold that Stormrunner in hand, but I doubt that Joyful has Bombard in deck, so that'll be difficult. One option will certainly be getting a big hit from this Gravelock Guard, but I'm betting that Buecherwurm continues to move the Vilda up and away so that Joyful is unable to do that. This feels like that trial where you each have a Vilda and are just constantly enchanting the Vilda and building it up to have a massive enchantment war. At least it feels like that for Bucher. Joyful is not happy with that. Deathcap Berserk is another option, so that would actually combo very well with this Vilda, be able to make her attack every single turn for 10 damage, and will heal that damage that the Deathcap does. So Joyful is actually on the verge of death, because this Vilda will come in and make that kill on this top idol. Joyful will need to defend it, and I'm sure he sees it, but the key will be defending it long term. Vilda is going to continue crashing in and killing whatever is placed there every single turn, and once that relentless damage comes in from the Machination Mindset, that'll be even worse for JoyfulRogue. So need to find an option as soon as possible. Stormrunner comes down and Gravelock Outcast comes down, so that's 2. Will deal 12 damage to this idol, taking it out, so potentially Joyful could try to race, but with the 3 countdown on the Gravelock Guard, that's going to be really difficult. Bucher has 2 Rat Kings and 2 Machination Mindsets. Sacrifices for Scrolls, so still not able to get up the energy for Machination Mindset and the Relentless damage. Earthen Testament, not particularly useful right now. Another Deathcap and Berserk. I bet we just see Rat King played out to make the Vilda even more terrifying and difficult to kill. This Vilda deck is working like a charm right now. Ironclad Reaver cannot be killed due to the pillage effect, so Vilda will probably move down and take out this Storm Runner and just continue pounding on the gates that Joyful continues to set up on this final idol. Alternatively, Joyful could move down. It would be very risky, but move down and start to target the bottom two idols. So it would take a couple of turns for that to be relevant. But once Vilda's down there, it'll be much more difficult for Joyful to defend two idols from 10 damage every turn rather than just one. But Bucher ends up going north, and that will take out this Storm Runner. I want to see Rat King come down, and that's what happens. 1 rat, 2 rat, 3 rats spawn. They are spaced on the top rank. And Vilda crashes in, healing herself and taking out the Storm Runner. JoyfulRogue, trying to figure out how to deal with this massive threat. Has a Fury in hand that is not useful. Another Fury comes up and a Tick Bomb even less useful. Let's see here. Could go Iron Whip Machination Mindset and deal a little bit of damage. Could move his 2 units down and plan for a big attack next turn, maybe, off of the Fury and try to get that Relentless Gravelock Guard in action. That might be the only answer. Bucher will potentially see that coming and would be able to take out the Ironclad Reaver, but really I don't know whether the choice Joyful has. The key is going to be this Gravelock Guard. Moves it to the back, knows how important it is to protect. Still has to keep a unit up here. Could just lose the game if Buecherwurm has like Kinfolk Veteran or some sort of Ragged Wolf enchantment combo to take out the Gravelock Outcast with haste, and then the Vilda would get in for that damage. Unfortunately for Joyful, he has no other creatures to play out to further reinforce that, so it's a risk he's just going to have to take. What can he do? Only has 20 seconds left. The play might just be passing the turn, honestly. Maybe playing Machination Mindset out now just for a future investment, but that sort of tips his hand. He might just have to pass, unfortunately. Really no good play to make. Next turn's almost certainly going to be a Fury play, and hopefully for him he'll have something come out that can help. Bucher, Earthborn Keeper is in play. Or not in play, but capable of being played. Pitches for Scrolls, finds a Wildling and another Earthborn Keeper. Look at all the 1 countdown units in this deck. Earthen Testament as well. No great option for Bucher. He's just going to have to settle for dealing some damage. I would like to see him anticipate the countdown reduction from JoyfulRogue and double defend his Vilda, making it more difficult for that 8 relentless damage to get through. And that's what he does. Wildling comes out, so that's going to be 6 health worth of meat wall in front of Vilda. So 12 total damage is needed to come through. And currently, with the waste from the Outcast only dealing 2 damage, I don't quite see it. Maybe with Iron Whip as well. Let's see. Take out the Rat. Needs 10 damage after that. So could play Machination Mindset and then an Iron Whip actually on this Wildling. I think JoyfulRogue can actually take out the Vilda right now. He goes up to 7 resources. Here's the Fury. Here's the Machination Mindset. Intelligently plays it on the Gravelock Outcast, giving it Relentless. So that's 12 damage, which is just enough, even without the Iron Whip, to get in and kill the Vilda. Wonderful play by JoyfulRogue. He finds the angle, gets his units in position. That Gravelock Guard completely key. And he crashes in with so much Relentless damage. Buecherwurm did tremendous with that Vilda, but now we'll need to find another way to get the offense going. Earthborn Keepers are a start for that. Elan Vital is not a start for that, so that'll have to go. Maybe his Machination Mindset can be played off of Replenish. Surely he has some Replenish effects in here somewhere, like Blood Boil. Yeah, so Blood Boil is an option to get that Machination Mindset. But anyway, what units will he play out? Maybe building a Wildling offense with Elan Vital. That's not a bad combo with Regeneration as well to make up for the and Magic Armor to make up for Wildling's self-damage. So Wildling Vital this turn with Earthborn Keeper next turn to start building up. Maybe start assaulting these bottom 2 and put more pressure on JoyfulRogue. And here comes the Wildling. Rats will be ready to get some attack in as well. Enchanted with the Elan Vital. Interestingly, Blood Boil, I don't think works with Wildling if it has magic armor. I don't think it takes that damage at all, so it won't get that bonus, but we'll see how that stacks. JoyfulRogue has the ever-powerful Gravelock Freak, one of the best scrolls out of waypoints, in his hand, and now on the board. Gravelock Guard as well, protecting himself from a 10-attack combo. He correctly surmises that Buecherwurm might have some sort of shenanigans that can pull the win out of nowhere, so he's defending every idol with the utmost care. Buecher has Earthborn Mystic, of course combos with his entire deck. Could go Blood Boil into Machination Mindset, and then play out Earthborn Keeper if he goes up to 5 resources. That might be an option. Sacrifices for Scrolls. No ID serves as another replenish effect for Machination Mindset, and now has another Vilda the Verdant. So No ID comes out first, triggering the Wildling up to 1 attack. Still has 4 resources to play with, including some energy from the wild if he so chooses. Choosing now between Vilda, actually Blood Boil comes down, so that's another replenish, so he must believe that that combo works, and maybe it does. Machination Mindset as well, up to 2 attack on this unit. Still not super impressive, but will be very soon, especially if he can pull another Rat King out of his hat. With only 2 resources to play with, he can no longer do anything this turn, just needs to defend that Wildling to the best of his ability, and lets it crash in for 2 damage on the Gravelock Freak. Machinated for JoyfulRogue, nice card, but now is not the time. He'll sacrifice it for Scrolls, I'm sure, unless he can pull a win out of it, and I don't think he can. Has another Machination Mindset and an Ironclad Reaver, so the Reaver comes down, excellent defensive scroll, defending the Gravelock Freak. The Outcast up here to the top, combined with the Gravelock Guard up here, is going to be enough to take out these idols relatively quickly, so Buecherwurm finds himself on a bit of a clock in this back and forth game. But for now, the Outcast just set to deal 4 damage. Joyful will likely save that Machination Mindset. He has the resources to play it with whatever he wants to play next turn, almost certainly, so it's better to save the element of surprise a little bit. Goes ahead and moves away from his bottom idol, so he's willing to let Buecher have that shot at it, have the opportunity to get in for 10 surprise damage. I don't think he has it in his hand right now, but we'll see what he draws. There's a Ragged Wolf, so that's a start, but it won't be quite enough, I don't think. He'd need something really crazy right now. Oakblood, Leeching Ring, defensive enchantments, not what we're looking for the combo, to the 10 damage combo, but still will be nice, potentially with the Earthborn Mystic. Note that he actually sacrificed his Vilda, so he's content to just build up on the 1 unit for now, the Wildling. Does have Relentless. What he really would have wanted there is another offensive enchantment, perhaps the Earthen Mirth that gives +4 attack, or a Rat King to give +3 attack, and of course 3 rats on the field. 4 resources to play with, maybe Earthborn Mystic Ragged Wolf comes down, or Earthborn Keeper Ragged Wolf. I'd rather see the Mystic, but actually we see Oakblood come down, so further solidifying how difficult this Wildling will be to kill. And has up to 4 attack coming in. He could deal all but 1 damage to the Ironclad Reaver. He could deal some idle damage if he chose instead. I'll be interested to see what this decision is. 1 rat moves to the bottom, that'll take it down to 9. Another rat will need to move, goes down to row number 4, 1 damage to the Reaver, and the units come crashing in. So 3 total damage to the Reaver, 1 to the idol, defends the no ID. JoyfulRogue finally finds a burn, able to use it on the no ID if he chooses, or could maybe use it on the rat to further open up the Wildling. So here's the burn on the no ID. Has Stormrunner, pitches it, Violent Dispersal, will work on the Wildling, won't kill it outright, but 8 damage is nothing to sneeze at. Of course can't play it this turn, but next turn, combined with any damage dealt this turn, might just be enough. So Machination Mindset comes in on the Gravelock Guard, actually moves down to kill off this Beast Rat token, and so that'll clear both rats, defend this idol, and deal 1 damage to, it'll actually be random damage, so it could hit this Beast Rat unproductively, we'll see. And of course note that the Gravelock Guard up here is ready to attack, so he can deal a ton of idle damage as well. Look at the mileage this unit has gotten all game long, this double enchanted unit. Buecherwurm is not playing a deck that deals really well with units in the back, so he's been able to just hide behind defensive units and deal a tremendous amount of damage, including killing the critical Vilda a few turns ago. Gravelock Guard crashes in. Actually, with the double guard play, they both hit the rat, so that worked out well, allowing the Gravelock Freak to hit the Wildling for 3. Of course, 1 heals, but it's at least a start. Currently in Violent Dispersal range. That is very, very, very important. It did get buffed by the Blood Boil when it took some damage. Let's see, what does Buecherwurm have in hand? Still no tremendous offensive enchantments, no Stag Hearts, no Earthen Mirths, no Champion Rings or anything of that nature. No Unleash Inner Power, which would be pretty darn vicious right now. Ragged Wolf comes down, so that'll continue to buff the Wildling, who does have Relentless, which is critical. And maybe Earthborn Mystic. I've been waiting for that scroll to come down all game long. I'd like to see it now. It would buff 2 attack on this Wildling, 1 and 2. So that's now 7 Relentless damage, enough to take out both of these units and deal some idle damage. And note that Buecher did move the Mystic to defend his second row in case JoyfulRogue has some sort of tremendous countdown reduction. Violent Dispersal is accessible now. Could just go ahead and take out the Wildling. Oh no, Magic Armor 1! Magic Armor 1, it's easy to forget about, but Elan Vital actually perfectly protecting this unit. Even a Violent Dispersal Desperation combo on the Wildling would not finish it off. He can take it down to 1 health, but that's not quite enough. Just not quite enough. So what can he do instead? He could play Gravelock Elder out now. The Wildling would continue to heal every turn. Its base health right now is 10 with the Oak Blood. So Violent Dispersal is just not going to be able to do it even next round unless some combat damage is dealt to the Wildling. Hopefully Joyful sees that Magic Armor and realizes what's at stake, because wasting that Violent Dispersal and not killing the Wildling would be a tremendous waste of his turn right now. Sacrificer for Scrolls has another Freak and another Elder. Did get rid of that Desperation, which had some potential to deal a little bit more idle damage and put it at 8 health in range of the Gravelock Guard. But anyway, the Freak comes down, and Joyful content just to defend his idols and take out the Earthborn Mystic. Wildling up to 6/9 now. 6 attack, 9 health. A Kinfolk Brave in play, so that's more relentless damage he can play. Get 2 more attack on the Wildling this turn, get it up to 8. Pitches for Scrolls, another Oak Blood, so he could further make the Wildling difficult to kill. Joyful needs to find a way to kill it really, really quickly before it gets completely out of hand, though that buck might have already passed. Definitely needs to find a way to deal with it before some sort of ward effect is played on it. Maybe Gravehawk Kinfolk Brave or Kinfolk Brave Vader of the Wild would be the play here. Note that Buecher's still only on 4 resources after 15 rounds, so he's drawn way more scrolls than JoyfulRogue has just from sacrificing every turn rather than going up to the next growth level. Gravehawk comes down, so that's a relentless attacker. Triggers up to 7 and then moves to defend the second row idol, which is intelligent because Fury would have ended the game. And then there's Kinfolk Brave, who will also move and defend that idol. And Wildling will hold down the fort down here on his own, likely crashing through and taking out the Gravelock Guard with Machination Mindset on it, and also dealing 5 damage to the back idol here. So that would put JoyfulRogue in a difficult position, and it does. He only has 2 health on this idol now. He needs to deal with this Wildling as quickly as possible. That's a ton of relentless damage, enough to end the game this turn. So Joyful's got to find a way to defend both idols because they can get up to 9 easily. The Wildling can and take out either. Just a challenging situation. Could do Elder Outcast. That would likely extend the game by a turn. He does go ahead and sacrifice the Violent Dispersal. That was one of his only options to maybe take out the Wildling if some more damage were dealt, but does get rid of it. Still on 8. Thunder Surge not particularly useful. So there's the Outcast, and I want to see that Gravelock Elder come down as soon as possible. And in fact, if the Elder does come down, he could get a Desperation play for the win next turn on his Gravelock Guard. So that is pretty darn critical. But, oh no, this might be a mistake by JoyfulRogue. Note that the Gravelock Freak only has 7 health. The Wildling is almost certainly going to increase its attack next turn. If it can get to 9 attack, that's enough to Relentless through and get that kill. So that placement on the Gravelock Elder might have been game-losing, unfortunately, for JoyfulRogue. Is there anything he can do? He can't move these units at all. Well, has the Gravelock Freak moved? Well, no, that wouldn't even help either. I was going to have them switch position, but that's not enough. I think the writing might be on the wall for JoyfulRogue with that misplay. Let's see if Bucher sees it, or if Joyful can come up with something really clever to address it. Buecherwurm has potentially, if he can play any creature, the win in hand, and that's one turn before JoyfulRogue was going to make a desperation relentless play and wipe this row and probably get up to the 15 damage he needed to finish the game. So can Bucher do it? Can he find it? He does have Vader the Wild. The win is in his hand with 9 relentless damage if he sees it. Sacrifices for scrolls. Finds a Rat King, so that will be a little bit of overkill as well. Either of these spells could just win the game right now. Moves the Wildling up, targeting the Rat King behind, it looks like, which will make them spawn all next to the Wildling. There's the Rat King targeted behind. 1 spawns, 2 spawns, 3 spawns, up to 11 relentless damage from the Wildling, and that will do it. The Wildling comes crashing in with the relentless, finishes off the match. Well done by Buecherwurm, managing to beat the Gravelocks with his really interesting enchantment growth build built around Vilda and Wildling. This has been Scrollscast with Smogan. If you like what you see here, make sure to subscribe to the Badger Guild YouTube channel. We have a lot more Scrollscasts out there. Thank you for watching.